Hey everyone, and welcome back to Vibrations and Manifestations. I'm Jared.
And I'm Alicia.
We are so genuinely glad you're here today. I mean, I have to be honest, I almost didn't make it to the microphone this morning.
Oh no, what happened?
Well, you know my dog, right? She gave me this look of absolute soul-crushing judgment when I put my coffee down and walked away from her spot on the couch to come record this.
Oh, the guilt trip.
Right. It was like, she was saying, really, the microphone is more important than snuggling right now. But, I made the hard choice. I am here.
I love that. Well, I am fully anchored in on my end. I've got my tea, I've got my notes ready, and honestly, the weather changed so suddenly today that I instantly regretted not bringing a heavier sweater into the studio, but I'm cozy enough to dive in.
Good, because we have an incredibly important deep dive today. And I want to start by asking you, the listener, to picture a very specific, quiet scenario.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever poured absolutely everything you have into achieving a single goal? Like, you finally reached it, and then standing in your kitchen on a random Tuesday morning, you thought to yourself, wait, was that it?
Oh man, that is one of the most jarring experiences a human being can possibly have.
It really is.
You spend years, sometimes decades, convinced that this one specific achievement is the absolute finish line. You cross it, the crowd cheers, and then everyone goes home. And you are just left there.
Alone with yourself.
Exactly. Alone with yourself, feeling completely unchanged.
Yeah, I really want you, listening right now, to try and picture this.
Yeah.
Maybe it's something you have already lived through, or maybe it's something you are, actively working toward right now. You put in the late nights, you push through all the resistance.
All the stress.
Right? And you finally see that specific number hit your bank account. Or you get the keys to that house, or you sign the contract for that dream job.
The ultimate goal.
Yep. And for the first, 10 seconds, or maybe the first weekend, the adrenaline is incredible. The external applause is completely deafening.
But then the dust settles.
It always settles. You wake up on a completely ordinary weekday, pouring your coffee, and the excitement is just evaporated.
Yeah.
Faster than you ever thought possible.
It's almost scary how fast it goes.
Right. And you are left with this tiny, almost guilt-inducing thought, just sort of whispering in the back of your mind. You feel kind of ungrateful for even asking it, but you think, is this all there is?
And, for the listener who's just starting their self-discovery journey today, maybe you haven't hit that massive milestone yet, but this exact same tension can show up in a slightly different way for you.
Oh, so?
Well, think about the ideal life you have been told to want, the life you write about in your journal. When you really sit quietly and picture yourself living inside of that dream, do you feel a subtle, unexplained tension in your chest?
Oh, that's a great question.
Like a tiny hesitation or a heaviness, because that is your body's way of signaling that the dream, as it looks on paper, doesn't actually fit the reality of who you are.
Which is really the core question we are unpacking in our deep dive today. What if the life you are building looks completely successful on the outside, but doesn't actually feel good to live on the inside?
And that's why today's session is designed as an interactive workshop. We are not just here to talk at you.
Definitely not.
Our mission today is to gently help you realize where you might be, running an outdated script in your life. We want to teach you how to transition from designing your life based on how it appears to other people to designing your life based on your daily lived experience.
And I want to speak directly to you right now, especially if you are feeling a bit lost, or if you feel like you've wasted years chasing the wrong things. I need you to hear this really clearly. You are not failing.
Absolutely not.
Feeling that tension in your chest, feeling that misalignment, it is not a failure. It is simply you waking up. It is the very first step toward building something real.
That is the perfect foundation for us to build on today. Because to truly understand why we so often chase things that leave us feeling empty, we have to look backward. This isn't a personal flaw. It's not some fundamental brokenness inside of you.
Well, it's a cultural inheritance.
Exactly. We were handed a blueprint for how to live, and we never really questioned who drew the blueprints.
So let's look at those blueprints.
Mm-hmm.
Because the script we are operating on isn't just something social media invented a few years ago. Where does this ideal life checklist actually come from?
Okay, to understand the modern checklist, we have to travel back a bit. Back to the late 1940s and early 1950s, immediately following the Second World War.
Right, a very different world.
Completely different. If you look at the psychological state of the entire globe at that time, it was an era of profound, just unimaginable trauma. The generation that came back from the war had survived the Great Depression in the 30s.
Which was incredibly scarce.
extremely scarce. And that was followed immediately by a global conflict. So their collective nervous systems were completely shattered. They were exhausted.
So what happens to people in that state?
What happens when a human being has been in prolonged survival mode for 2 decades? They crave one thing above all else: absolute safety, predictability, control.
That makes total sense. I mean, if you've been living in a constant state of chaos and scarcity, you aren't looking for, like, spiritual alignment.
No, not at all.
You just want the ground to stop shaking. You want to guarantee that you won't starve and that bombs won't fall on your roof?
Precisely. And society responded to that deep biological craving for safety by creating the modern suburb. Places like Levittown became the ultimate symbol of the new American dream.
The cookie-cutter houses.
Right. The blueprint was established almost overnight, and it was super rigid. A house with a manicured yard, a white picket fence, a stable job that you kept for 40 years until you got a pension.
A very traditional family structure.
Yeah. And from the outside looking in, this was a masterpiece of security. It was a fortress against the chaos of the world.
Okay. But if it was the perfect fortress, why didn't it work? I mean, from the outside, it checked every single box for success. But what was actually happening inside those identical perfect homes?
Well, inside those homes, a very different reality was taking root. People had finally achieved the security they had prayed for. But within a few years, they started experiencing this quiet, suffocating restlessness.
Like an emptiness.
A profound emotional emptiness. They were surrounded by shiny new appliances, safe streets, full pantries, but they felt completely dead inside.
Wow.
Yeah. In 1963, Betty Friedan published a landmark book called The Feminine Mystique. She interviewed countless women living in these highly sought-after suburban environments, and she actually coined a phrase for what they were experiencing. She called it the problem that has no name.
See, I can hear someone listening right now thinking, but wasn't that stability exactly what they needed at the time? Isn't wanting safety and a reliable paycheck a fundamentally good thing? I mean, we can't fault an entire generation for wanting a roof over their heads.
Oh, we absolutely cannot fault them. And safety is entirely non-negotiable. It is the absolute base layer of our biological needs. You cannot focus on self-actualization if you are running from a predator.
Right.
But here is the critical distinction we have to make today. This is the realization that changes everything. A survival template cannot be the same as a fulfillment template.
Wait, say that again? A survival template cannot be the same as a fulfillment template.
Exactly.
Let me make sure I'm really grasping this. It's like being stranded in the wilderness and surviving on heavily processed emergency rations. When you are starving, those rations are absolute miracle. They literally save your life. But once you are rescued and you are back in civilization, if you keep eating those emergency rations every single day for the rest of your life, you are going to get incredibly sick. You survived, but you aren't thriving.
That is a brilliant way to conceptualize it.
Mm-hmm.
The Suburbia script was a brilliant design for surviving a post-war era and reestablishing physical safety. The tragedy is that we took that exact same emergency survival blueprint and somehow decided it was the ultimate formula for human happiness.
We confused avoiding danger with actually experiencing joy.
Yes, and we handed that blueprint down through the generations.
And we are absolutely still doing it today. We just updated the aesthetics,
Well,
right?
much.
We swapped out the 1950s picket fence and the lifetime pension for modern equivalents. Now the survival blueprint looks like, the corner office.
Yeah.
Or the six-figure product launch.
Or the perfectly curated morning routine on a lifestyle vlog.
Yes. Or hitting a specific follower count on social media. It's the exact same trap, just wearing modern clothes. And I know this intimately because I fell face first right into it.
I think a lot of people listening can relate to that. What did falling into that trap actually look like for you?
Well, a few years ago, I was chasing what I thought was the logical, ultimate next step in my creative career. It was this massive collaboration project. And on paper, it was the Holy Grail. Everyone in my industry, my peers, my mentors, they all looked at this opportunity and told me, this is it. You have arrived. This is the pinnacle.
The ultimate validation.
Exactly. So naturally, I bought into the narrative. I sacrificed my weekends. I sacrificed my sleep. I basically ignored my physical health, and I completely abandoned my own peace of mind just to get this project over the finish line.
You were running on empty.
Completely empty. And when the deal finally closed and the project launched to the public, I vividly remember sitting alone in my living room, looking at the finalized contract on my laptop.
What did you feel in that exact moment?
It wasn't joy. It wasn't triumph. It honestly wasn't even relief. It was just flat. It was this heavy, suffocating, neutral emptiness. It was the, wait, was that it? Moment in its absolute purest form.
How did you make sense of that emptiness at the time? Because that's confusing.
Honestly, at first I felt incredibly guilty. I thought I was broken. I kept thinking I should be happy. Why am I not happy? But with a little bit of hindsight, the realization became so clear. I had built this massive goal, like a movie set.
A movie set.
Yeah, you know when you go to a back lot at a film studio and
Yeah.
they have those stunning, intricate Victorian homes? They look totally perfect on camera. But if you actually walk up to the house and open the front door, there's nothing inside.
It's all fake.
Right. It's just plywood, 2x4s, and scaffolding holding up a facade. There's no plumbing, no warmth, no place to actually live. And that is what I had built. I didn't choose that career milestone because it felt right in my body or because the daily work brought me joy. I chose it because it made sense to the world,
Because it looked good.
because the facade looked incredible. But my experiencing self, the person who actually had to live behind the facade every single day, was miserable.
Thank you so much for sharing that. Because that feeling of standing behind the plywood facade, that is the ultimate indicator that you are operating under the wrong design system. It means you have successfully built a life for other people to look at, rather than a life for you to inhabit.
Which transitions us perfectly into the core teaching of our workshop today. When we strip it all down, there are really two distinct ways to design a life. And most of us are completely unaware of the first one until it completely burns us out.
Right. So the first way is what we call appearance-based design. This is the default setting for almost everyone. This is the emergency ration script we inherited from society, from our parents, and that gets reinforced every single time we open our phones.
Every single scroll.
Yep. The mechanics of appearance-based design are driven by three distinct engines: comparison, validation, and external metrics. When you are building your life this way, the primary question your brain is constantly subconsciously asking is, does this make sense to other people? Will they approve of this?
If I tell my family about this job, will they be impressed?
Exactly. If I post this milestone, will it get validated by my followers?
It's designing a life exclusively for an audience. And the absolute pitfall of this design is that it actually works on paper. If you follow this blueprint, your life becomes an incredibly impressive resume. But the tragedy is that it requires you to constantly perform your own existence rather than actually live it.
It really does.
It's like going to a high-end boutique and buying a stunning, incredibly expensive pair of shoes that are entirely a size too small.
Let's expand on that, because we all know that feeling of choosing the aesthetic over the comfort.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
So you bring these shoes home, they look amazing in the box, you take pictures of them. When you wear them to a dinner party and sit perfectly still at the table, everyone walks by and says, wow, those are incredible shoes. You have such great taste. You must be doing so well.
And your ego gets a massive boost.
Huge boost. You smile and say thank you. But here's the problem. You have to actually walk in them. You have to exist in those shoes hour after hour, day after day. And by the end of the night, your feet are bleeding.
Ugh, the worst feeling.
The blisters are excruciating. And eventually, the blisters start to dictate everything you do. You can't dance, you can't walk freely. You start avoiding certain activities because the pain is just too much.
You're trapped.
You are trapped in a beautiful, painful presentation. That is exactly what an appearance-based life feels like. You are sacrificing your internal comfort and freedom for the external admiration of people who, honestly, aren't even paying that much attention to you anyway.
That captures the trap perfectly. You are trading your daily live reality for a momentary glance of approval from an outsider. So what is the alternative? The shift we want to guide you toward today is moving into experience-based design.
So if the first one is driven by validation and comparison, what drives experience-based design?
Experience-based design is driven by energy, alignment, and daily lived experience. It completely flips the focus of your life. Instead of constantly looking at the horizon, focusing on the milestone-to-milestone leaps like the graduation, the promotion, the wedding, the retirement, it focuses intensely on the hour-to-hour reality.
The actual day.
Right. It cares about your Tuesday morning. It cares about your commute. It cares about the physical feeling in your body when you sit down at your desk and open your email.
You use the word alignment.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to really ground that word for our listeners right now, especially if you are new to this journey today. Because alignment is one of those buzzwords that gets thrown around so much in the self-development space that it sort of starts to lose its meaning.
He definitely can.
It can sound very esoteric, like it's some mystical state of enlightenment where you float above the ground with a glowing purple aura.
It is so much more practical and physiological than that.
Exactly. I want you to completely demystify this word in your mind. Alignment is a literal physical sensation. It is not a complex concept you figure out on a whiteboard. It is a feeling in your physical body.
A literal feeling.
When we say alignment in this workshop, we mean the literal feeling of ease and space in your chest. It is the physical sensation of your shoulders dropping an inch away from your ears.
Yes, that exact feeling.
It is when your breathing is steady and deep in your stomach, rather than shallow and trapped in your throat. Alignment simply means your body feels safe, unhurried, and at peace with the environment you are currently in.
And this requires a massive reframe in how we think about our goals and our manifestations. Because manifestation is not about acquiring a bunch of shiny objects, titles, or bank balances just so you can show them off.
Not at all.
True manifestation is about intentionally creating an environment, both your internal emotional landscape and your external physical reality, that you actually enjoy existing inside of on a random Thursday.
Okay, so if the difference between the two is so obvious, right? Painful shoes versus comfortable shoes. Why is this so hard for us to grasp? Why do we keep falling for the shiny new goal? Why do we keep buying the shoes that don't fit?
It's a great question.
If we know we want to feel good, why do we constantly trick ourselves into appearance-based design?
This is where we have to bridge the spiritual concepts with biological reality. Because you aren't just making bad choices, you are fighting millions of years of evolutionary programming.
Wow. Okay. There is actual measurable science behind why your brain plays this trick on you and why the excitement of achieving a goal fades so fast.
Let's get into the mechanics of that. If our brain knows that this goal is what we wanted, why does the joy disappear the second we get it?
The first biological mechanism we have to understand is called hedonic adaptation. There is foundational research by psychologists Philip Brickman and Donald T. Campbell that explains this perfectly. And in the absolute simplest terms, your brain is a ruthless, highly evolved efficiency machine.
An efficiency machine.
Yes, its primary job is not to keep you happy. Its primary job is to keep you alive. And to do that, it has to adapt to its environment to conserve energy. It literally normalizes absolutely everything you expose it to.
So how does that actually work mechanically in our day-to-day lives?
Think about it through the lens of dopamine, which is the neurotransmitter responsible for desire and reward. Let's say you get a massive promotion. On a Friday afternoon, your boss calls you in, gives you the title you've wanted for 3 years, and doubles your salary.
Best Friday ever. Right. Your brain releases a massive flood of dopamine. You feel euphoric. You literally cry tears of joy. But your brain cannot sustain that level of chemical output. If you stayed in that state of euphoria permanently, you wouldn't notice if a threat entered your environment.
Right. If you are busy weeping with joy over your bank account, you don't notice the tiger sneaking up behind you.
Exactly. So your brain, to protect you, establishes a new baseline. Over the next 30 to 60 days, it turns down the volume on that promotion. It recalibrates.
It makes it normal.
By next month, that miraculous promotion is no longer a miracle. It's just your job. The new house, the new car, the new salary bracket. Your brain rapidly integrates them as the new normal so that it can go back to scanning the horizon for the next threat or the next opportunity.
Which means external wins are biologically incapable of sustaining internal joy.
Yes. They give you a chemical spike and then you adapt.
That is huge to understand because it completely removes the shame of feeling ungrateful. It explains the endless treadmill we are all running on. We get the promotion, the feeling fades, and instead of realizing the system is flawed, we think, oh, I guess that goal just wasn't big enough.
Right, I need more.
I adapted to that, so I must need an even bigger goal, a bigger house, a bigger title to feel that high again. But it's a biological illusion. You will adapt to the next one too.
It is a profound illusion, and there is another psychological framework that explains why we keep falling into this trap. It was introduced by Daniel Kahneman. He observed that we essentially have two different selves operating at the exact same time, the experiencing self and the remembering self.
Oh, this is one of my favorite concepts. Let's break down the mechanics of how these two selves differ, because they want completely different things.
They are entirely fundamentally opposed in how they value life. How would you describe the remembering self?
Well, your remembering self is the storyteller. It is the ego. It is the part of you that curates the narrative of your life for the history books. Imagine you go on a vacation to a beautiful, rugged coastline.
Okay, picture that.
Your remembering self is the part of you standing at the edge of the cliff at sunset, taking the perfect, flawless photo. It's the part of you that 5 years later looks back at that photo and says, what a perfect, majestic trip. It cares about the legacy, the highlights, and the resume.
But the experiencing self is the one who actually had to live through the reality of that trip in the present moment.
Exactly. The experiencing self is the biological organism that had to sit in a sweaty 4-hour traffic jam just to get to that cliff.
Yes.
The experiencing self is the one dealing with the lost luggage, the excruciating sunburn, the exhaustion, and the argument with your partner over where to eat dinner. And we spend so much of our lives, our careers, our relationships, our finances, building goals exclusively to satisfy the remembering self.
We really do.
We build the resume, we curate the photos, we chase the legacy. And in doing so, we completely abandon the experiencing self, who actually has to slog through the miserable daily reality of those choices.
Which brings us directly to the nervous system, because your experiencing self is your nervous system. If we look at the mechanics of Stephen Porges's work with polyvagal theory, and to keep this incredibly simple and practical, your nervous system is basically a 24/7 internal radar system.
Our radar system.
Right. The vagus nerve is this massive information highway connecting your brainstem directly to your heart and your gut. It is constantly, rapidly scanning your environment, your posture, your breathing, and the tone of people's voices to determine one single thing.
Safety or danger.
Are we safe or are we in danger?
Right. And that radar system cannot read your resume.
It has absolutely no concept of your 5-year plan. Your nervous system doesn't care about the plaque hanging on your wall. It doesn't know what a CEO is. It doesn't care how many followers you have or how aesthetic your living room is. Your nervous system lives entirely in the present tense. It lives in your Tuesday mornings.
So what is it actually responding to, if not our external success?
It is responding to your biological reality. It experiences your rushing. It experiences your shallow, panicked breathing as you scroll through 50 unread emails. It experiences the tension in your jaw and the knot in your gut during a meeting with a toxic boss.
It just feels the physical reality.
Exactly. It doesn't care if your life looks successful to the outside world. It only knows if your chest feels tight, which it interprets as a threat, a predator, or if your chest feels open and relaxed, which it interprets as safety.
Wow.
If you build a life that looks amazing but requires you to be in a constant state of fight or flight to maintain it, your nervous system will constantly signal that you are in danger no matter how much money is in the bank.
And this ties perfectly into self-determination theory. Edward Deci and Richard Ryan pioneered this. They wanted to know what actually creates deep, sustainable fulfillment in a human being.
Yeah.
And they found that it does not come from external gold stars. It doesn't come from society's approval.
What does it come from?
It comes from 3 internal pillars. First, autonomy, the feeling that you actually have freedom and choice over your own daily actions. Second, competence, the feeling that you are growing, learning, and mastering something meaningful to you. And third, relatedness, the feeling of genuine, safe connection and belonging with other human beings.
Notice what is completely absent from those 3 pillars.
Money, titles.
Yeah. Not once does human biology require fame, a specific income bracket, or a perfect physical aesthetic to feel fulfilled. Fulfillment is entirely an inside job. It is a physiological state of safety and growth.
So, knowing all of this, knowing that the brain adapts to success, knowing that the nervous system only cares about the present moment, and knowing that true fulfillment requires ease and autonomy, how do we actually apply this?
That's the real work.
Because insight without action is just entertainment, and we promised you a workshop today. So we are going to do our first interactive tool right now. We call this the Feels Like filter.
I want to invite you, the listener, to actively participate in this right now. We are going to pause the information for a second and move into experience. Wherever you are, if it is safe to do so, if you aren't driving, I want you to just stop.
Just pause.
Take a slow, deliberate breath in through your nose and let it out through your mouth.
Just sit with that for a second. Now, without trying to change it, check in with your physical body. How does your chest feel in this exact second? Is it tight? Is it relaxed? How does your stomach feel? Just notice it without judging it.
Keep that gentle awareness of your body alive. Now, I want you to bring to mind a current goal you are actively pursuing. It could be a professional milestone, a financial target, a relationship status, or a physical fitness goal. Usually when we think of this goal, the only question we ask is, what will I get when I finally achieve this?
I want you to completely throw that question away. It is a trap for your remembering self. Instead, I want you to run your goal through the feels like filter. I want you to ask your experiencing self, what will this goal actually feel like to live inside of on a normal, rainy Thursday?
Really put yourself in that environment. Let's walk through the mechanics of that imagined reality together. You've achieved the massive goal. It is a random Thursday morning 6 months later. What time does your alarm go off to maintain this level of success?
Oof, good question.
What is the pace of your morning? Are you leisurely sipping your coffee, feeling rested? Or are you immediately rushing out the door, cortisol spiking, heart racing, because the demands and responsibilities of this new goal are immense?
Think about the physical environment you are in. Where are you sitting? Think about the people you have to interact with to sustain this goal. Are they supportive, collaborative, and kind? Or are they constantly demanding more from you, creating a culture of urgency and fear?
Are you spending your Thursday engaged in deep, satisfying work? Or are you spending 8 hours frantically putting out fires to protect the facade?
Let's check back in with your body right now as you imagine the reality of that Thursday. Look closely at the physical sensation in your chest and your gut. Does imagining the actual day-to-day maintenance of that goal bring a feeling of ease, space, and lightness to your body?
Or does it feel heavy?
Right. Does imagining the daily reality with sudden wave of tension, tightness, and heavy pressure to your stomach?
If it brings tightness, listen to that. That is your nervous system, your biological radar, screaming at you that the shoes do not fit. It is telling you that you have designed this goal for appearance, not for experience.
And this is the moment where we pivot. This is where we use guided reframes to adjust the blueprint.
So if a listener just realized their goal makes their chest tight, how do they practically reframe that?
Well, let's say your original goal was, I want to be a millionaire by age 40, and you just realized that the relentless hustle required to get there makes you feel physically ill. We pivot the goal. The whole new goal is no longer the raw number. The new goal is the condition of the wealth. You ask yourself, what pace of life and what level of daily pressure am I actually willing to live with in order to earn my money?
Oh, that changes the entire trajectory.
It changes everything. Or like if your goal was, I want to be the CEO, and you realize a CEO's Tuesday is entirely filled with back-to-back conflict and personnel management, you have to ask yourself, do I actually want to manage conflict all day just to have the title? Or do I just want the autonomy to make my own creative decisions?
You shift the focus away from the noun, the title, the object, and you focus entirely on the verb. From what you get to how you live.
Yes. You are no longer negotiating with society for status. You are negotiating with reality based on your body's capacity for joy, which is the perfect bridge into the next phase of our workshop. Let's clear the static and tune into the magic.
I love that phrase. Welcome to manifestation debug mode. Just like a computer running an outdated, glitchy software program that is draining the battery, we have to identify the bad code that is slowing down your life, delete it, and write a new script.
The static we need to clear today is a very specific, culturally conditioned lie. It's a belief that is running constantly in the background of almost everyone's mind, draining your energy. And the lie is this: if I can just achieve enough, I will finally feel better. If I hit that metric, I will finally feel safe. If I get that applause, I will finally feel worthy.
I want you to really listen to that sentence again. If I achieve enough, I will finally feel better. Check in with your body. I want you to notice your physical response to that specific sentence. What happens?
Just feel it.
For most people, hearing that creates an immediate, heavy tightening in the chest. It creates a sense of endless rushing, a heavy pressure on the shoulders. Why? Because your biological body knows it is a trap. It knows that enough is a moving target.
The horizon of achievement constantly recedes. The moment you take a step toward it, it moves a step back. You will never, ever arrive at an external destination that magically grants you permanent internal self-worth.
So we have to tune into the magic. We have to update the belief system. Here is the new code we are installing today. Outcomes do not create fulfillment. Alignment does. I design my life based on how I want my body to feel.
I'm going to say that one more time, and I want you to just sit back and let this wash over you. Outcomes do not create fulfillment. Alignment does. I design my life based on how I want my body to feel.
Notice the physical relief of that statement.
Notice the space it instantly creates in your lungs. Let that land.
Yep.
Not as some cheesy motivational quote, but as profound foundational permission to stop chasing. It is absolute permission to step off the treadmill of appearance.
This raises the vital question of implementation, though. How do we start weaving this new code into the fabric of our daily lives? Awareness is the necessary first step, but deep, Honest reflection is what actually changes behavior.
Very true.
We want to guide you through 4 deliberate reflection prompts to start untangling the old blueprint.
I am going to read these slowly. And I want you to know, it is perfectly okay to pause the audio after each one. Grab a journal, or just sit quietly and let the question echo in your mind. Be brutally honest with yourself. Remember, your experiencing self is listening, and it knows when you are lying.
Ready.
Question 1. What goals am I currently pursuing, mostly because they look good to others? Look at your daily to-do list. Look at your grand 5-year plan. What is on there strictly for the applause, the approval, or the validation of people who do not actually have to live your daily life?
And really challenge yourself on that one. Is the graduate degree for you, or is it for your parents?
Question 2. What actually feels good, easy, and light in my daily life right now? We spend so much time obsessing over what is missing. Stop looking at the gap and look at what is already working. What are the quiet moments in your week where you lose track of time, where your shoulders naturally drop, where you feel completely effortlessly like yourself?
Notice those moments. Question 3. What parts of my life feel slightly off in my body, even if they logically make perfect sense? This is the ultimate intuition check. Where are the shoes pinching?
Yeah, pay attention to the pinch.
It might be a relationship that looks absolutely perfect on paper, a job that pays incredibly well, or a daily habit you read in a book that you think you should be doing. If your body is bracing against it, write it down.
And question 4. What would I keep in my life right now if absolutely no one else could ever see it? If social media completely disappeared tomorrow? If your parents' opinions evaporated into thin air? If you were the absolute only witness to your own life? What would stay? What are you doing purely for the joy of the experience?
Those questions will completely dismantle an unaligned life. If you sit with those 4 prompts, your true life will start to reveal itself through the cracks of the life you have been performing.
And just a quick note for our community, if you want to go deeper with this process, we have expanded versions of these exact prompts waiting for you in the weekly Vibe Letter email. It is entirely free, and it is a great way to keep this momentum going throughout your week.
Because alignment, as we've established, cannot be figured out on a whiteboard. You cannot use a spreadsheet to map your way into fulfillment. It must be physically felt in the body.
Absolutely.
So, for the culmination of our workshop today, we are going to do a guided visualization. We are going to experience a soft descent into a day that actually feels right to your nervous system.
I want to invite you to get as comfortable as you possibly can right now. If you are driving, please keep your eyes open and just listen to the sound of my voice, letting the imagery play in the background. But if you are in a safe place, sitting or lying down, I invite you to soften your gaze. Or, if it feels right, go ahead and let your eyes close.
Take a deep, slow breath in, feeling your lungs expand fully. And exhale gently, letting the air release without any force. Do that one more time. Deep breath in, drawing in the present moment. And let it go.
Drop your shoulders away from your ears. Unclench your jaw. Let your tongue fall away from the roof of your mouth. Give your biological body permission to just be here. You are completely safe. There is absolutely nothing you need to achieve in this exact moment.
Now I want you to imagine a morning. Not a perfect, highly edited cinematic morning, but a deeply grounded, aligned morning. You are waking up, but there is no jarring alarm blaring in your ear. You are waking up naturally because your body has had exactly enough rest.
Notice the light in the room. Maybe it is a soft golden sunrise filtering through the curtains. Or maybe it is the quiet gray light of a cozy overcast day.
Feel the physical weight of the blankets resting over you. They feel grounding, warm, and comforting. As you lie there for just a moment before moving, notice your internal state. There is no immediate frantic rush of cortisol. There is no mental checklist screaming at you about who you are letting down. There is just space. You feel rested. You feel profoundly calm.
You decide to move, you sit up, and you swing your legs over the edge of the bed. Your feet touch the floor. The floor feels steady and solid beneath you. You stand up, and your physical body feels capable, energized, and light. You walk into your kitchen to make your morning beverage, coffee, tea, warm water, whatever brings you comfort.
Listen to the sound of the liquid pouring. Feel the physical warmth of the mug transferring into the palms of your hands. Draw it up to your face and breathe in the rich aroma. Notice that this simple act isn't something you're rushing through just to get to the real part of the day. This act is your life, and it feels deeply pleasant to be present for it.
Now imagine moving into the midday. You transition into your work, your creative focus, or perhaps caring for your family. But notice the quality of the energy you are bringing to these tasks. You aren't bracing your body against the day like it is an enemy you have to defeat.
You are engaged with it.
Yes, the effort you are putting forth is clean. It is not a heavy, dragging, resentful effort. It is the energized effort of someone who is actively participating in a life they consciously chose.
Check your breath in this imagined state. Is it shallow and trapped in your chest, or is it steady and deep in your belly? Feel that steadiness. Notice that even when an unexpected challenge arises in this imagined day, you have the internal bandwidth and the nervous system regulation to handle it calmly. You are not overwhelmed.
As the day transitions into evening, imagine looking back on the hours that have just passed. You're sitting on your couch, maybe outside on a porch, winding down. You don't feel a frantic sense of pride because you performed perfectly for an audience.
You don't feel a desperate need to post about it to prove your worth.
You just feel deeply, quietly satisfied. You feel satisfied because you were actually present inside your own life today.
Now, I want to ask your body gently, does this feel good to live?
Make a mental and physical snapshot of this exact feeling. Memorize the geometry of this ease in your chest. Notice the looseness in your shoulders, the quiet in your mind. Memorize it, because this physical sensation is your brand new compass. This is what you are actually trying to manifest.
Not the objects, not the titles, not the numbers.
But this exact feeling of being completely at home in your own existence.
And now, let's begin the soft return. Keeping that feeling of ease alive within your chest, gently start to bring your awareness back to the physical room you are currently in. Wiggle your fingers and your toes. Feel the chair or the floor physically supporting your weight.
Take one more deep, grounding breath in and out. When you're ready, gently open your eyes, bringing that profound feeling of ease back into the room with you.
Welcome back. I want to take a moment to really validate what you just did, because the shift we covered today is genuinely life-altering if you let it take root. Let's do a quick recap of the journey we just took together to solidify it.
We started by validating that quiet, uncomfortable realization that looking successful on paper does not always equal feeling happy in your body. We named the ghost in the room. But was that it?
We looked back at history, at the post-World War II survival blueprint, and realized that you are not broken for feeling this way. You are simply following an inherited script of appearance-based design, a model built entirely for physical safety, not for soul-level fulfillment.
We bridged that with the biological science. We explored why external success cannot sustain internal joy, explaining how dopamine and hedonic adaptation force your brain to normalize every win.
And we learned that your nervous system, your experiencing self, only cares about the reality of your daily physical ease, not your 5-year plan.
You then practically applied this by using the feels like filter, taking a real goal and demanding to know what it feels like to maintain on a random Thursday. You debugged your old cultural beliefs, trading the exhausting pressure of constant achievement for the profound permission of daily alignment.
And finally, you physically felt what true alignment is in your body. You established a new compass.
So if we had to distill everything we've unpacked today into a single foundational truth for you to carry forward, it is this. Don't just manifest a life that impresses other people. Manifest a life that actually feels good to live.
That is the entire shift right there. And because this is an active workshop, we have a behaviorally sticky action step for you to integrate this into your reality this week.
We want you to pick just one tiny area of your life. It does not have to be a massive career change. It could be your morning schedule, a specific friendship, the way you budget your money, or even just how you organize your physical workspace.
Look at that one single area and ask yourself with absolute honesty, am I optimizing this space for appearance, or am I optimizing it for experience?
And then make one tiny, imperfect adjustment toward ease. Stop performing that area of your life and start living it.
If you loved this deep dive and you want more practical tools to support this new way of living, we warmly invite you to visit our YouTube channel. We have explainer videos that break these psychological concepts down visually, sleep alignment guides to help your nervous system regulate overnight, and meditation-only videos for when you just need to drop out of your head and into your body.
And of course, remind yourself to subscribe to the free Vibe Letter for those expanded reflection prompts.
And this brings us to a really exciting point. Now that you know how to design an aligned life, and you know what it physically feels like in your body,
Oh, yeah.
what happens next week?
Ah, yes.
What happens when the old habits, the social media algorithms, and the expectations of your family try to pull you right back into performing for others?
That is exactly what we are tackling in our next deep dive. We will be exploring the new manifestation model. We will break down how to sustain this feeling of alignment long term, how to protect your peace when the world aggressively demands your performance, and how to build a tangible ecosystem around yourself that naturally supports your experiencing self. You will not want to miss it.
I am so looking forward to that conversation. As we wrap up our workshop today, I just want to say how deeply grateful we are to be walking this path alongside you, wherever you are right now, whatever messy, beautiful, or confusing stage of the journey you find yourself in. You are exactly where you need to be.
You truly are. Please be incredibly gentle with yourself this week as you start asking these new questions. Trust your intuition and let your body lead the way.
I want to leave you with one final provocative thought to mull over as you go about your week. We started this whole session talking about that uncomfortable moment when you achieve something and think, wait, is that it?
Yeah, that empty feeling.
We usually view that emptiness as a tragedy. But what if it's not? What if the feeling of is that it isn't a sign that you chose the wrong goal at all? What if it is actually the exact moment your nervous system finally felt safe enough and stable enough to step out of survival mode and finally ask you for what it actually wants?
Thank you for your time, your focus, and your presence. Have a wonderful, intentional, and deeply aware week, and we will see you in the next session.